And it's Alice Lema again here with our weekly market update. End of the week, it's Friday, October 30th. It's Halloween weekend. It's the weekend before the election. And here in Southern Oregon, we still have a very topsy-turvy market. For the most part, we still have low inventory, which means we don't have enough houses to sell. It means we have more buyers than we do sellers. But interestingly enough, we're starting to get a few more properties on the market this week, and you know what I noticed? The prices are softening. Is it just me, or are you guys noticing that too? So especially in the below 300 range, which lately has just been a feeding frenzy. I do have buyers that are winning bids, but it's been bloody. It's been quite an arm wrestle. Yeah, so just today there were 3 or 4 new properties that came on the market that were under 300, and they were not complete pieces of junk. The slang is POS, piece of, but we'll say piece of junk. So I'm kind of excited. I'm going to go out and preview those because I have a big long list of first-time buyers. I also have some downsizing people, and everybody likes those little single-story cottages. So I'll let you know how those look. I'm super, super excited to go look at those today, and I'll post a little bit about them on my Facebook and my Instagram. Speaking of which, we have the radio show, which is going to be airing tomorrow. It airs every Saturday, but the reason I'm bringing it up this week is because we interviewed a gal named Danny Fry, who is like appraiser extraordinaire, and she really brought a lot of depth of insight about the appraisal process because of the fires, because of the corona, and just really a lot of education. So if you have a chance to listen to that tomorrow at 10 a.m. or Sunday at 6. It's on KCMX News Radio 880 on the AM. They do have an FM. I can't remember what it is. I guess I should find that out, huh? Anyway, so Pete Belcastro and I interviewing Danny Fry, just an amazing appraiser in the area, and has worked for the state on some of the state of Oregon appraiser level boards and stuff. So really, really interesting, very educational. And it'll also be up on the radio show YouTube and probably on my stuff, if I'm pretty sure Melissa and Tony and those guys posted on my feed. So anyway, if you want a little update on what's going on real time with our local appraisals because of the fires and the corona, catch that interview. So let's talk about what's going on in our neck of the woods with the sales and the back on market, because you know we've been tracking that closely lately. So Jackson County, this week alone, we closed 104 sales, 26 back on market, 130 pending, 122 new listings. So Jackson County, 122 new listings plus 26 back on market, and we're sorry about the back on market people, but you know, I've had a couple of those happen in my listings and they sold again right away. So you know, keeping our good thoughts for you out there. But if you add those together, that's 140 something basically in new inventory just in Jackson County. So I really think we're going to start seeing more properties come on the market. I think it's going to be a great winter as far as the selection is going to get better, and that is really what we need. And it's good for the sellers, because if you're selling and you have all these buyers, first of all, yay for you, and second of all, they can get a house at these low interest rates, so it creates more of a buyer pool for the sellers. So it's one of those rare times where both the seller and the buyer have good market conditions. And if you see me anytime in the next week or so, if you get within 10 feet of me, I'm going to ask you if you're pre-approved, because everybody should be buying a house right now, or a rental, or a second home, or a vacation property, or something. And if you're not doing that, then refinance what you do have. This is a great time to re-rack your portfolio if you're an investor. We have a lot of investors putting their properties on the market. 1031, that's an IRS category of moving the funds from one property to another and paying the tax later. It's legal tax deferment, 1031. We'll do we'll do a podcast on that sometime in the future. But if you're an investor and you're not thinking about redoing your portfolio, then ask yourself if you want to add some more units, or if you're just kind of fed up with the state of Oregon, brouhaha with all the new laws, maybe you want to put some of those units on the market. I was noticing some of the duplexes are listing now this week at $400,000, which I find really shocking. That's $200,000 a door, which I think is really high. The one I noticed in particular this week was out in Eagle Point. So we'll see if it sells for that. I just closed one yesterday in Medford, and it was $150. So it's 300-ish. And it was newer construction, beautiful tenants, great location, covered parking, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, nice living room, all appliances included, for quite a bit less than the one that just listed in Eagle Point. But we'll see. The market is what the market is. A lot of my investors are that like multifamily are not buying right now because they're waiting for another cycle. They think the prices are too high. And I do too. So if you have a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex, and you're ready to get something different, or you're just kind of done being a landlord, call me or text me, or you could message me actually if you're listening right now, and we'll get you fixed up, because there's a lot of people out there that want those units even at $150,000 or $200,000 a door. Okay, so back to our stats. Jackson County is, as always, very, very active. We'll just refresh because I had a little tangent there. Sorry, you guys. So we have Jackson County new listings, 122. We put the back on market of 26. They had 130 pending and 104 closings. That's Jackson County. Let's talk about Josephine County. Josephine County had 32 sales close. They had 20 back on market. That's really high. And they had 57 pending. So that's very interesting. Josephine County had 39 new properties, 20 back on market, 32 closings, and 57 pendings. So when you have 20 back on market and 57 pendings and 32 closings, that's a pretty tight ratio. So we may be seeing the beginning of a market shift in Josephine County, more toward a normalization, not so much the sellers in charge. Although the rural property and the riverfront in Josephine County, the prices are still going up, and because of the corona and people trying to buy these bigger compounds, if you will, I think the rural properties are still going to be way up there in price. Okay, so Klamath County. Let's look at Klamath. Klamath had 42 new properties on the market, 11 back on market, 51 closings, and 47 pendings. Wow. So 42 new properties in Klamath County, 47 pendings, which is more than what came on the market, but they also had 11 back on market and 51 closings. So Klamath is also very tight, kind of like Josephine, and I know the prices are going up in Klamath County, and part of that is remote workers, people who can live anywhere. Klamath County is one of the places they're going. The taxes are lower. They like the lifestyle. They can get a lot of bang for their buck. You know what else is interesting about Klamath County? 50% of the it's 50% tenant occupied. So in town, 50% of the housing is occupied by a renter. So if you're a landlord and you're looking for a better cost to rent ratio and a really big renter pool, not buyer pool, but renter pool, think about Klamath County. The price of admission is much lower than Jackson or Josephine County. The rents have a good ratio, but mostly it's the price. You can get a really good price, and 50% of the people are tenants. So that's an interesting piece of trivia, isn't it? Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about today is when you do go back on the market, whether you're a buyer or a seller, because of a low appraisal. So when you have a low appraisal, you have choices. The buyer does and the seller does. So the buyer has the choice of walking away frequently they want the property and they want it at the lower price. It's kind of a good situation for the buyer as long as the seller, stays in the game. So what'll happen is the buyer will usually initiate, or the buyer's agent, an addendum that says purchase price to be lowered to this whatever amount because of low appraisal. And then the seller has the option of accepting that. They have the option of renegotiating, but a lot of buyers either don't have the extra cash to make up the difference, or they don't want to because it means they're overpaying. So the seller can either renegotiate if possible, accept that lower appraisal price, and there is some wisdom in that, actually. Or you can go back on the market and see if you can get either a cash buyer who doesn't get an appraisal and is willing to basically overpay, or you can see if you can get a different appraisal situation and have it work out. So normally we suggest that the sellers just go ahead and maybe try to renegotiate a little bit with the buyer, but mostly just accept the lower appraisal, close, and get on with the next step of their life, because usually the next appraiser is going to give them about the same value. Well, I had a situation this week where the seller chose to go back on the market, and we had a $22,000 shortage on the first appraisal. They went back on the market, and in just a few weeks, the appraisal came in at value. The appraisal came in more than $22,000 higher than the last appraisal. So isn't that interesting? And you just never know what's going to happen in a few weeks. That is very, very lucky. I think that's very unusual. Again, I don't really want to recommend that people risk that. The particular seller in mind here was not in a big hurry to sell. Their next house actually wasn't going to be ready for a while, so it was kind of okay for them to roll the dice, and they figured if the second appraisal came in low, fine, they would just take it. It was really boo-hooey for the first people because they kind of lost out big time on that one. But $22,000 shortage on an appraisal is a lot of money in Southern Oregon, and it probably is other parts of the United States too. So this particular seller rolled the dice. They got their second buyer, and just in that few weeks between appraisal 1 and appraisal 2, that market in their neighborhood went up over $22,000, and as luck would have it, they got the higher appraisal and they were able to close. So again, I do not recommend usually that you roll the dice on that. I think it's a special situation, but it was one time where we got to see that in just a few weeks, if the market is volatile enough and moving in the right direction, that a seller can grab a higher appraisal. But again, I don't normally recommend that, especially if you already have another house that you're in escrow on or something that you don't have, the life energy and the life space and time to risk that, because it really is a roll of the dice. But yay for our little sellers who got the higher appraisal on their second time around. So so I just thought I would share that with you, because people don't always know what happens if they take a chance, and this time it worked out, so we're super happy for that. So it's going to be a good real estate weekend. Got a lot of listing appointments. We have a lot of people now that the corona is not over, but we know kind of how to address it and how to deal with it. So we have a lot of people getting ready to put their houses on the market, and it's unusual for that to happen during the winter. So I do predict that it's going to be a real active winter, and if this week prices in our lower price point categories are any prediction at all, then we may have a little stabilization, softening, that kind of thing. Because of the fires and because of the COVID, our Southern Oregon market kind of spiked in late August, early September, and now we're watching it kind of flatten out a little bit. We'll see if it goes down. I just don't think it's going to go down that much. Southern Oregon is on so many national lists of great places to live. I just think the demand is high, and even the locals want to upgrade. Anybody who lives here and really enjoys our lifestyle, we want either a bigger house or more land or a cottage to rent or something. So so if you see me around this weekend, I will ask if you're pre-approved, because I just can't believe this great house environment in Southern Oregon in all categories, except for maybe multifamily. I think multifamily is a little bit overpriced this week than it was last week. If you're in escrow already, you probably got a better price than you would today. But we'll watch that through the winter because I'm a big fan of multifamily. I like everybody having that in their portfolio if they're willing to be a landlord. And in Oregon, that can be a tricky thing because of all the new laws. But once you kind of get a handle on the new laws and the rent control situation, I still think it's a great business to be in. So give me a call, give me a text if you're around this weekend and you want to talk shop. 541-301-7980. That's 541-301-7980. You can also message me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can holler at me at one of the breakfast places I frequent. So yeah, love talking real estate, love helping people. So have a beautiful Southern Oregon weekend. Be safe out there for Halloween, and don't forget to vote. Make it a great day. Bye now.